Everyone is joining. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are truly delighted to welcome you today as we celebrate Black History Month with my longtime friend here, French historian and Titanic researcher, Olivier Mendez.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for coming. My name is Jill Carlier, and I'm here with my team and guests. And we are here to learn about the Black passenger whose name was Joseph LaRoche and his family. And the story of the LaRoche family was really lost for many years until Olivier here, who I am going to spotlight, discovered they were on the Titanic. So today we're going to find out how this happened, how Olivier came to learn about this family, and he has so many stories to tell. And I'm really so excited about this because I just remember, I don't know when I met you, Olivier. It's been years.
Years ago.
Years ago. And I just remember you having so many wonderful stories to tell about this family and also, you know, their suffering. So I'll turn it over to you. And if you want to say anything, and then we have a nice slideshow and then we can ask questions. I'm handing it over to you. We also have Sonia here. Can we begin by asking you to tell us about yourself and how you came to learn about the LaRoche family? And which came first, you learning about the LaRoche family or studying Titanic?
Well, first of all, I'd like to apologize about the light because it's already dark here in France and I only have one small lamp to light me. Obviously, my face is full of shadows. I'm sorry for that. Well, I'm Olivier Mendez. I am a Frenchman. I'm 53 and I started studying the story of the Titanic when I was 8 on very special circumstances. I have no link with the ocean, no link with any passenger, no link to any ship. Then suddenly the Titanic appeared in my life and we've been living together for 4 decades now, over maybe 5 decades now. So the Titanic story is a story I know pretty well, but I've never been interested in the ship. I discovered that there were French passengers and that over the years, over the decades, nobody was interested in the French passengers, certainly because they could not speak English, and certainly because American researchers or English researchers did not speak French. And so they could never meet them and have their stories from themselves. I was really lucky to meet Louise LaRoche when Ed Kamuda from the Titanic Historical Society accepted to give me her address. She was living in Villejuif, in the suburbs of Paris. And she invited me after a short correspondence over a few months, she invited me to join her. And we had a fantastic meal together. And I discovered a fantastic lady, a beautiful little lady who had so many things to tell, so many stories. And it started really strangely. The start was really strange because I remember the day when I visited Louise for the first time. And she told me, "Oh, I will show you my mom's suitcase." And I must tell you the story of the suitcase. Louise went to the next room and she came back with an old suitcase that was stained with water, full of dark spots. And she opened it, but before she opened the suitcase, she told me, "Oh, when the Germans arrived in Paris in 1939, my mother was scared for us, for my sister and I. And so she put everything about my father into this suitcase. By night, she went into the garden. She was digging a big hole, and she hid the suitcase in this hole for years. When the war ended in 1945, my mother said, I'm not taking back the suitcase because we never know. Maybe the Germans will come back. And she took back the suitcase in 1946 only, so 1 year after the war ended, because at that time, Juliette Laroche really thought the Germans would not come back to France. So I was really puzzled by this story. And I said, Louise, why was your mom so upset by the presence of the Germans in Paris? And she told me, oh, because of that. And she took a picture from the suitcase and she handed me the picture. On this picture, 4 people, a lady standing, 2 children, and a man sitting on a chair. And the man was black. And she told me, oh yes, I didn't tell you, Daddy was black. And that's how I discovered there was a black passenger on the Titanic.
Wow.
And she was, her mother, Juliette, was so scared that the girls would be deported because, you know, the Nazis and the pure race rules. She was so scared the girls would be deported to concentration camps that she was hiding everything that could prove her husband was black and that she had mixed children. She was trying everything to hide it from the Germans. She really was scared about the laws about the purity of the race. Juliette really was scared about that. So she preferred to put everything in the garden. She preferred to hide everything from the Germans rather than having some control and seeing the girls deported to some concentration camp.
Oh, that's terrible, especially after what they've already been through.
And when for the first time I heard this story, I didn't know her father was black because Louise was not looking black. She had a special complexion, but I could not say she was a black lady. And suddenly she was handing this picture, the one I sent you, and the one which is in the slide. I don't know where is my copy now. And she was handing me this picture and she told me, oh yes, I didn't tell you Daddy was black. That's how I discovered it.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, I'm speaking a lot. I'm sorry if anyone want to stop me, just
no,
ask me.
I think it's wonderful. I think we're all hanging on your every word here.
I don't know the way Zoom is working, so just interrupt me because I could speak for hours.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Did you want us to open that for questions, or do you want to go through your slideshow first?
Oh, we can start with a slide. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that story. I'm going to turn it over to...
I didn't say hello to anyone. Sorry. I'd like to greet everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for, yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming too, Olivier.
My pleasure.
I'm going to turn it over to Sonia. She has a... Oh, Phil's here. Nice.
Yeah, just a minute sharing.
Okay. Wow, Phil Hens just joined, Olivier, from Encyclopedia Titanica.
Sorry, I didn't hear, Jill.
I said I just let Phil Hendon from Encyclopedia Titanica. I'll pop him in there so you can see him. Oh, here comes our screen share. You can say hi later.
Hello, everyone. So the slideshow starts with the picture I was telling you about, the family picture. This family picture was taken just a few weeks before the Laroche were sailing on the Titanic. They were not supposed to sail on the Titanic. They were supposed to sail on the France the French liner that was sailing at the end of April 1912 on her maiden voyage also. And the Laroche had a first class ticket on the France, but for some circumstances, they changed their tickets for second class tickets on the Titanic. The circumstances were those. When Juliette, the mother, read the conditions at the back of the ticket, she read that children on the France in first class could not stay at the restaurant with the parents, and that they would have to join a special restaurant for children with a nurse or with somebody going with the children. And Juliette was some kind of a dragon with her daughters, and she refused. And she said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to hand over my daughters to anyone I don't know. So the children will be staying with us. And she was asking Joseph, can you change the tickets for another liner? And Joseph went to the companies in Paris, and he was asking, do you have any other ship leaving for New York in next month, in April? And the White Star Line said, yeah, you are lucky. We have a brand new ship going to New York in April, and you can be in New York City 10 days or 15 days ahead of your scheduled trip. So you can travel on the Titanic. But your tickets in first class on the France will only give you access to second class on the Titanic. And Joseph said, it's okay, never mind. We will be traveling second class. And they changed the first class tickets on the France for second class tickets on the Titanic. And that's how they found themselves traveling on the Titanic. So this is the picture. I don't know if anyone can hear me. I cannot hear anyone.
Yes, we can. Yeah, I think you.
Okay, fine.
You can just let her know. Do you want her to move to the next picture?
Oh yeah. So
okay.
just before sailing, Joseph was really enjoying the presence of Louise. Louise was the youngest girl, and she was born with problems, and she was really, really weak. And the father was really in love with the little girl, and they took this picture in the garden just before sailing, maybe a few days just before sailing. And this picture is stained and water stained because it was in the suitcase that was buried in the garden. And this picture suffered from the leak because the water was leaking inside, and many documents were damaged. And this picture is one of the pictures that were damaged. But we can still see him and Louise maybe a couple of days before sailing on the Titanic. We can change and have the next one. Yeah, next. So when Joseph bought his tickets on the Titanic, he was given them inside an envelope, and the envelope still is here. The family still has the envelope. Unfortunately, the name of the ship is not on the envelope, but it's the real one, the real envelope that was containing the tickets for the Laroche on the Titanic. Oh, somebody wants to unmute. What does it mean unmute? Sorry, I'm French.
Oh, it's all right. We just leave. We're going to be leaving everyone muted for now. Everyone.
Okay. On the second day aboard, Juliette was writing a pretty long letter to her father, and she was explaining how big the Titanic was and how little the tender was compared to the Titanic. She is mentioning the cabin, not the number, but the kind of cabin they were having. She is mentioning the band playing. She is mentioning passengers. She is mentioning a lot of people and a lot of things in this incredible letter. She says that from Paris, they were traveling with another French family, the Mallets. And we will see later on a picture of Madame Mallet and her son they met on the Titanic. They met in the train, to be honest. They met on the train from Paris to Cherbourg. But they were close friends on the Titanic. They were staying together. And Juliette is speaking also about a little girl who was speaking only English. And Simone, her daughter, was talking to this girl who was staring at her in disbelief because she could not understand one word the girl was saying. Of course, she could not speak French, and Simone could not speak English. So she's speaking about this kind of events. The fact that Joseph was on the main deck, strolling with the girls running after a gentleman who was giving them chocolate. So the gentleman has no name, but he could be a Frenchman who was selling wine. And we know that lots of people usually are using chocolate when they are tasting wine to soften their mouth. So it could be this French gentleman. We don't know for sure, but it could be. Okay, we can change if you wish. Okay, so this is Madame Mallet and her son Andrew. Andrew was born in Canada, and this French family came back to France for a funeral, and they were traveling back to Montreal where they were living. On this picture, we can see that both the boy and the mother are wearing their mourning dresses. And we can see that Madame Mallet is still wearing her wedding ring. We can see the wedding ring on the picture quite clearly. We can see it. The Mallets and the Laroche were friends until 1919. And suddenly in 1919, Madame Mallet decided to remarry. She married Mr. Rodomanovsky. She is buried under the name of Rodomanovsky today. And Juliette really resented her. She really was angry because Madame Mallet remarried, and she considered Madame Mallet really was cheating on her dead husband. And so she decided to stop being friends with her. So next. When in New York City, Juliette got some money from a lady, an American lady, maybe a French lady. The name was sounding French, but she was living in New York City. And this picture was taken at St. Vincent Hospital in New York. It's a group of French-speaking passengers who survived the sinking. And you can see Madame Mallet and Andrew on the left and Juliette and the two girls on the right side. And at the back is a Swiss passenger, Bertha Lehmann. And I just can't remember who is the last one. But this picture was published by the New York Times in April 1912. Next. When back in France, Juliette, when in New York City, still in New York City, Juliette decided to travel only on French liners because she didn't trust English crews. And so she said, we will travel back on a French liner. And they traveled on the Chicago. And despite the name, the ship is French, Chicago. And they came back to France around the 2nd of May, 1912. And later on, during the month of May, there was a ceremony for Joseph. And this is the document that was handed to everyone about Joseph's passing. Next, if you wish. This is the letter Juliette got from the White Star Line, mentioning that 4 people boarded the Titanic and only 3 survived, and that Joseph's body was never recovered, or if it was recovered, it was not identified. Next. This is another notice for Joseph's death. The ceremony was given just at the time when he should have turned 26, because he was born in May, and so he died just 1 month ahead of his birthday. Next. On the Chicago, this picture was taken on the Chicago. The little girls met a man who really loved the two girls, and he was playing with them every day. And when the ship landed in Le Havre, some reporter took this picture of the girls staying with the man. And the girls are wearing sailors' suits that were offered by Mrs. Kelly from New York City. Next. The same kind of picture. This one is, in fact, I will show you. This picture here is taken by...
She won't, they won't be able to see that, what you're showing, I don't think. Are you guys able
No, I will do it later on.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's okay, it's okay. The picture shows Mr. and Mrs. LaRoche, of course, and it shows the girls. The picture was taken in the garden just on the 2nd of May, 1912. We have the date for it. And it was published in the French paper Le Matin. And the LaRoche have the original picture. They still have it. And this picture shows the girl with mourning dresses, black dress with white dots. They are in mourning dresses. So next. At the cemetery, the grave of the LaRoche family. I took this picture maybe 4 years before Louise passed away, and so her name does not appear, of course, on the stone, but she is buried here, like the other members of the family, and this grave is also a cenotaph for Joseph. So next. I have no date for this picture, but it's showing the two sisters, Louise, who was really small, standing on the right side, and Simone on the left side, of course. Simone never recovered completely from the Titanic. She was somehow handicapped, mentally handicapped, and she never developed any kind of I don't know how to say. If I say no kind of intelligence, of course I'm wrong, but she remained a child. In her head, she was remaining like a child. And you can see she is holding a posy, a bouquet. And she was in charge of taking care of the garden, because that was all she could do for all her life. She was cooking, she was sewing, she was taking care of the garden. She was gardening, great gardener, but she never found a job. She never married. She could not, because she remained a child in her head. She was somehow handicapped. And the first signs of it started right after the sinking of the Titanic. So next. Oh, this picture has no date, and it shows the mother and the two girls. Strange picture. I don't know who took it. I don't know why it was taken. I just don't know. So you can see Louise on the left side, Juliette in the middle with white hair, and at the back, almost hidden, you can see Simone. Simone was tall, pretty girl, and Juliette, I told you she was some kind of a dragon with the daughters. I mean that she refused the girls to date any boy. Every time Louise was trying to date a boy, Juliette was interfering and she was stopping the romance. And I'm sorry about this detail, but the girls were sleeping in Juliette's bed until Juliette died. Juliette didn't give them a room of their own. The girls had to sleep in the same bed as her, even when she was an old lady. And until her death, the girls didn't have a room of their own. because she was scared. She was scared something would happen to the girls.
Yeah.
So in 95, we went to Cherbourg to unveil a beautiful monument in the shape of a ship shape. Ed Camuda, you can see Ed Camuda standing by Louise, had the plaque engraved, but unfortunately the French on the plaque was awful, full of mistakes. And so this plaque was replaced by another one with the same text, but in good French. So this plaque was stolen one time. Somebody unscrewed it and stole it. And so the city of Cherbourg decided to replace it, and it's protected now. So we unveiled this plaque in 95 when the THS was coming back from a trip to Ireland. And one funny detail, when in Ireland, the members of the trip, of the THS trip, had rain for 1 full week, heavy rain for 1 full week. And when they arrived in Cherbourg, the sun was bright, it was beautiful. And the mayor of Cherbourg was offering umbrellas to the people of the THS. And the people of the THS were laughing a lot because, of course, they didn't realize at first, immediately, they didn't realize immediately that the Umbrellas of Cherbourg was a movie. And so the mayor was hinting at the movie. He was not hinting at the rain they had in Ireland for 1 week. And so they arrived in France with a bright sun, and the present was umbrellas. So they found it very funny.
Wow.
So next picture is showing Louise still in Cherbourg being interviewed by the French TV, because they didn't have any, officially, Cherbourg didn't have any Titanic survivor until Louise went to Cherbourg. So at first we called Louise Madame Niet, meaning Mrs. No, because every time we were asking her, are we going here? Are you coming with us? She was replying, no. And after a few minutes, she was asking, okay, but what time? So we called her Mrs. Niet, Madame Niet.
Oh.
She was funny. She was a funny lady, really funny. She was so small and so nice. She really was pretty. She had beautiful features, beautiful hair, a beautiful voice. I never recorded her, never. I don't know why. And we don't have too many pictures. I don't have too many pictures with Louise, but I spent 4 years visiting her every other weekend. So 2 or 3 times every month, I was visiting her, and we were sharing information. So we went to Cherbourg together, and we unveiled this plaque. Okay, next. Oh, still in Cherbourg with Don Lynch, Ed Camuda. The other lady behind Louise is her sister-in-law, Claudine. And the man with the beard is Mike Rudd, who is Paul Rudd's father. Mike Rudd was working for a travel agency, and he was organizing every trip for the THS. And that's how I met Paul Rudd, because Mike came to France to prepare the trip. And he told me, oh, I'm coming with my son. He's an actor. Maybe you know him. His name was not famous at the time. So I said, okay, I will meet him. I will be pleased. And we spent, I don't know, 4 days together in Paris, in Cherbourg. Oh, sorry, I will need my battery. If you'll give me just 1 second, I'm sorry, I didn't think about that. My battery is dying. My battery is dying. I need my charger.
No problem.
Just 1 minute and I'll be back.
Okay, we'll be here. We can all take a breather, and I can quickly apologize to the people in the group here about chat. And remind people, if you have a question, you can throw it into the comments. If you're watching this online, I'll try to catch your comments. the group or the page. And we're so happy that you're here. We're here with Olivier Mendez, who has done extensive research on the LaRoche family and was a friend for years with Madame Marie LaRoche, who you can see here with people that...
So
Go ahead.
Mike Red was organizing the trips for the THS. And that's how I became acquainted with his son, Paul. So next picture. So when we visited the Nomadic with Milvina and Louise in 1995, Louise was really puzzled by the beauty of the ship. She was touching everything. She was putting her hands on the walls. And when she sat on this bench, she was asking me, "Do you know if my father was sitting here?" And I said, "I just don't know, Louise." And she was touching the wood as if she could feel something. And you could see in her eyes that she was no longer with us in 1995. She was back to some time. She was back in time. Yeah, it really was so moving.
Wow.
Milvina never was a passenger on the Nomadic, so she only enjoyed the visit of the ship, but she had no special link with the Nomadic when Louise had.
Look how tall Milvina looks there. She looks so tall.
She was so tall. Milvina was so tall and such a lady. She was a real fantastic lady.
Oh.
I was her driver for the few days she was staying in Paris. I was driving her and Bruno, and she made me laugh a lot. She was incredible. I drove them back to Paris airport, Charles de Gaulle, to fly back to Southampton. And the lady at the desk was asking, "Does the lady need some help?" And so I was translating to Milvina, and Milvina said, "Oh yeah, why not?" And we were sitting in the lobby, and after a few minutes, a wheelchair was coming. A man was pushing a wheelchair, and he was scanning the people, asking who was asking for help, who was asking for help. And Milvina was asking me, "Is the wheelchair for me?" And I said, "Oh, it must be, yes." And she was so upset. She went to the man and she said, in English, she said, "I survived the Titanic. I can survive your walking carpets." And she walked on the walking carpet and she left me, not even returning to say goodbye, nothing. She was really upset by the fact that help meant she was old and she needed a wheelchair to board the plane. She was so funny. Bruno was laughing like mad. He was telling me, "Oh, that's her way. That's the way she's behaving." So it was really funny.
Oh, wow, what a great memory.
So next picture, still on the Nomadic, 95. Louise is sitting and you can see the broad smile on her face. She really was happy to be on the tender. She really was happy to discover this part of her own story. She never knew the ship was in Paris and she never visited it, of course. So when she discovered that a small page of her own history was open to her, she was saying, "Yeah, okay, I'm coming. I'm visiting the tender." And she was asking me all the time, "My father was here. My father was here." Nobody could reply. Of course, nobody could give her any correct answer. Nobody knew. So next picture. Still on the Nomadic. I'm just interviewing Milvina and Louise. Milvina used to say that Louise was the tiniest woman she ever met. She told me, "I've seen pygmies in my life, but Louise is still the tiniest woman I've ever met." I don't know where she met pygmies. I don't know.
Wow, that's you there?
That's me, yeah, when I was young.
What year was that again?
and slim. So, okay, next picture. Okay, a few hours after visiting the nomadic, Michel Navratil was joining us in Paris. This is at the Hilton, close to the Eiffel Tower. And Louise really wanted to meet Michel because she knew that they met on the Titanic. She knew it because when I was telling her, oh, maybe another survivor will come, and she told me, oh, if it's Michel Navratil, I want to meet him because I haven't seen him since 1912. Of course, she hadn't seen him. And Michel did not remember anything about this, but Louise remembered playing with two boys, and she even remembered the strange story about these two boys. She told me, oh yeah, there was something strange about this family. I don't know what, but I remember mother was saying there was a strange story about this family. So she remembered being friends with Michel on the Titanic. So she really wanted to meet him. And you can see they are holding hands. And for maybe 1 hour, they would not let go their hands. They would cling their hands.
Wow. Oh, that's so touching.
That was a sweet moment, yeah. Paul Rudd, actor. Paul was reading Juliet's letter because when we met at the Hilton, preparing the trip for the THS, Louise was asking us, oh, did I show you the letter my mother was writing? My mother wrote, sorry for my English. Did I ever show you the letter my mother wrote on the Titanic? And everybody was staring at her saying, what letter? And she took a small yellow envelope from her bag and she was handing the letter to us. And Paul, who can read French or speak some French, he told his father, oh, I'm going to translate it for you. So he really was immersed into the letter because the writing is difficult and it's in French. So he's not fluent in French. He was not at the time anyway. Maybe he is now. So he was trying to translate the letter to his dad. And we were completely elated by this letter. It was just incredible that such a treasure was appearing out of nowhere suddenly.
Wow, look at him. He's like, where is that letter now? Do you know?
So still reading the letter, Paul is laughing because Juliette was mentioning a little girl from her family who was called Marcel, and Marcel was a little bit fat. And she is mentioning, in the letter, she is mentioning Fatty Marcel.
Oh.
And so he was laughing because of this detail.
He has got a great smile. Do you know where that letter is now? Do you know?
Oh, the letter is still property of the family.
Okay.
I have somewhere around me, I have another letter with Paul holding Louise in his arms.
Oh wow! Really? Oh,
I must have another. I must have another letter, another picture somewhere. So next picture, if you will. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Did such a great job with the pictures.
Thank you for the job. It's beautiful. I saw somebody was asking me to hurry. I'm sorry. I don't know if I to hurry.
No, you were fine. There was somebody being demanding in the chat. So
okay, fine.
We had to.
If I'm speaking too much, just tell me. And
no, I found it captivating, and I was saying, hey.
So I'm greeting everyone.
Maybe no, that was so wonderful. Thank you so much for. Did you say you had something to show us?
Yeah. So this picture was published in Le Matin. That's the picture. Le Matin is the newspaper, and you can see the picture the picture was published by the newspaper, and the Laroche family has the original picture. So you can see the two girls. The two girls, you can see on the face of, I'm sorry for the reflection. You can see on their faces that they are smiling. They don't understand what's happening. They don't understand that they lost their father.
Right.
You can see they were bright little girls. And this picture was taken on the Chicago with this gentleman who was really crazy about the girls. Because Juliette had a nervous breakdown on the Chicago on the way back, and she could not take care of the girls, and the girls were taken care of by passengers of the liner. So this man was taking care of the girls. He was really crazy about them. Anybody would be crazy about them. They were so pretty. I was visiting Louise here. You can see her sister-in-law, Claudine, my sister, and myself. So we were visiting them quite often. And one day we went to the nomadic together.
Oh, wow. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to talk, and I'm going to spotlight you. So when I talk, it doesn't take you away. Can you please show that again? I made the mistake of talking during that and taking over
the last one is Claudine, Louise, and myself visiting the nomadic. So the ship was damaged at the time.
That's when it was in France, right?
And what else? I wanted to show you something else.
Okay.
But I got so many pictures, so many of them. This is the Chicago, the liner. This is a postcard. The liner the Laroches were sailing on to come back to France. Juliette would not trust anymore English crews.
Yes.
Yeah, this one you didn't see, maybe. It's Paul, Rudd, and Louise.
That's a great picture. Wow. Ramon was asking if Paul would share his stories that he had, or did he mostly talk with her when you were there at the, sorry, is my volume down?
Sorry, your voice is blurred. I cannot hear what you...
Sorry about that. Were you mostly when Paul was spending time with her? Was that also when you were spending time with her? Ramon was asking if Paul had stories to share.
About Paul? Oh yeah, plenty of stories. Paul was sleeping on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Sorry, girls. Yeah, we went to Cherbourg together, and Paul was explaining that he was telling me how he met Donald Pleasance on the shooting of Halloween, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, I don't know, 3 maybe, I don't know. And he was telling me what a great man Donald Pleasance was. And he was showing me his calling card and everything. And he was sitting at the front as the passenger. And I was at the back of the car, and he was turning back all the way, was turning back to talk to me. And suddenly he said, "Oh, can I join you?" And he was just walking over the seat, and he was sitting next to me at the back of the car. His father was driving. And after maybe, I don't know, maybe 2 hours speaking, he put his head on my shoulder and he fell asleep.
Oh, that's a nice memory.
I don't know if he remembers it, but yeah,
we had a few questions here. I didn't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm willing. Oh, yeah, you can ask me anything if I can answer, if I have the right answer.
Well, the first one that came through might be a sensitive subject, and you can just say pass if you'd like. It's Ramon Robinson asks, what is your opinion of the Black Man on Titanic by Serge Bile?
Who that? Who that will be my reply.
Yes, there we go. Perfect.
No. Just to make things clear. I wrote an article in the Titanic Commutator in '95 called "The Last French Lady," and I used all the details I knew at the time, and I wrote a book in French this time. And all my research has been rated by this man who is using sentences, just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And of course, I'm not credited. And the man says, I cannot do research myself on a Black man because I am not Black myself.
Yeah, when you told me that, it just broke my heart because I had been sharing the book in the book club. And when I heard that, I took my posts down, and I'm very sorry. And I think this is a good time to bring up to the community, because I think people don't always understand that. I think people think they see images, they see information on the internet, and they feel like it's up for grabs. Because I see it often, and we're often saying, credit your sources, credit your sources, credit your sources. And I think people don't always understand, the reasoning. And I'm constantly trying to explain that this is a respect issue for people that have put in the hard work. Because when I had seen that book, I said, I've never heard of this person before. I don't know how they would know all this. And then when I spoke to you, and it all made sense, because I've known you for years. Even way back in the 90s, and the old ET, and you were always the LaRoche historian, and I was so glad we were able to come and meet with you today, because I believe that people should be honored and respected for their work. I mean, I just remember being very touched with your stories, and your relationship with Louise, and the sensitivity around her protectiveness of the girls. Now, do you think the protectiveness was also because of what was going on with the Germans too, or was it mostly Titanic? I mean, she had a lot of reasons to want to protect her girls.
I was mainly interested in the story of the French passengers, because Louise did not only tell me the story of her family story. She also told me until the 60s, my mother was still in contact with another survivor who was visiting, an American lady who was visiting Paris quite often, and she was bringing us presents every time. And after questioning her, we discovered it was Molly Brown, and just crazy. And when Juliette gave birth to her boy in December 1912, she was pregnant on the Titanic. Another survivor sent her, I don't know the word in English, the protection for children when they are eating, so it will not drop on the clothes.
Oh, like a bib? A bib?
Yeah. Some kind of cloth you put around the neck. I don't know the word in English. Sorry for that.
I think it's bib.
So they still have it. And when on the Carpathia, Juliette had troubles keeping her tights. That's it. To protect her legs. And some countess, just guess who was a countess on the ship, gave her silk lace. They still have it. The family still have this item. And so she was telling me stories like this. And she was telling me the story of Madame Mallet, who remarried. Without Louis' help, I could not know that she remarried and she became Madame Romodanovsky. I could not find her because I could never find the name Rodomanowski by myself. And she was helping me a lot with all the passengers. And in her papers, she has a letter from a French passenger's father who was inquiring. He was saying, please, I know that your family met my son on the ship. Please tell me that you know something about my son. Tell me how he died. Tell me how he was behaving at the moment of the sinking. Of course, nobody could tell, but we still have this letter and we have the address at the back of the envelope. And so I was writing to the family, and the family is still living at the same place. And so they were contacting me and say, how do you know about this story? So I said, because I have a letter from 1912 by your ancestor. And so they were sending me pictures and information. And little by little, I was meeting almost every family, every French family. So my luck was meeting Ed Kamuda, who was trusting me. Ed gave me the contact with Louise, and Louise was opening this luggage, this piece of luggage, this suitcase that gave me access to so many people.
Did you, I know you, before we started the meeting, you had shared that you were letter writing, and then one day she just said,
oh, stop writing now, because I'm too old to write letters, she said. So come home and we will have dinner together. So I just met her. The first time I met her, I arrived maybe 4 hours before the meeting, because I didn't want to miss the meeting. And I was shaking, and when I was shaking hands with her, she told me, "Oh, stop it! I'm not a star. I'm not a superstar. You know." She told me exactly, "I'm not Liz Taylor. I'm not Elizabeth Taylor. You know." And I said, "No, and to me, it's the same. I'm meeting somebody important to me." And she was really lovely.
Oh, wow. And so she obviously wasn't someone that Ed had contacted, you know, because way back with Ed, when he was young, he had seen that movie in his father's movie theater, and I guess the movie came out with a book with the names of survivors. So her name must not have been on that list for him to
I just don't know about that, no.
Yeah, it seems like
I don't know. I know that every time she was meeting people, she was warning them. She was saying, just imagine in the 20s, 30s, 40s, with no reasons for mentioning the Titanic in the conversation, she was warning people. She said, when you meet my mom, never mention the name Titanic. And so people did not understand. They said, why should I? Because we all survived. My sister, my mom, and I survived the sinking. So never mention it until my mom wants to talk about it. And of course, the mom was meeting the people and she was saying nothing. She was very polite, offering cakes and coffee and tea. And suddenly she was asking for silence. And she was telling people, my legs are hurting. This is the Titanic that comes back to me. And then she started telling the story. And people were keeping quiet and silent and listening to the story. And she decided when she was going to speak about it and to whom she was going to speak about it.
Yeah, and I think that was pretty common, you know, after the tragedy back then. People
certainly, yeah.
There wasn't talk therapy like they have now. Talk about things. Ramon had said he had understood that there was another woman that brought her gifts, Edith Rosenbaum.
Sorry, there was another?
Edith Rosenbaum also brought gifts.
Yeah, really, yeah. They were meeting. I told you, Molly Brown. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. It was Edith. Sorry about the mistake.
It was Edith. Okay.
No, it was Edith Rosenbaum. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, because Ramon's very knowledgeable over here.
I was checking who was aware of this fact. No. Of course, it was Edith. Edith who could speak French fluently. Yeah, of course. Yeah, she was staying at some hotel in Paris, And every time she was visiting Paris, she was hiring a taxi and she was visiting the Laroche.
Oh, okay.
And she was coming with presents for the girls, scarves, toys, books. Every time she was coming to Paris, she was visiting the Laroche and offering presents. Of course, it was Edith. Of course, no, not Molly. Edith, of course. Sorry for the mistake.
That's okay. I love when people do their research and they pop in. I just sent him a message to see if he wanted to join us in our conversation here because he has a lot of great questions. Phil Hint said he had to go, but he was really happy to be able to come and see you. Ramon, let's see. He said he's good. Okay. Ramon would like to hear more about Marie's son, about the boy she was carrying, Mrs. LaRoche.
He was born in late December 1912. He was called after his father. He was called Joseph.
Oh, Joseph. Okay.
Joseph Laroche. Yeah.
Did they talk about?
He died from cancer in the 80s, if I remember well. Yeah, I don't know much about him. I don't know much. I know more about his children, but not really about him. Claudine was really silent about him. She didn't like talking about him.
Yeah.
So I don't know much about the boy.
Well, he was treated differently too. He was allowed to go and have a life, and the girls were kind of...
Oh, he was a boy. Yeah, so he was allowed to have private life and marrying and dating girls and having a job.
Yeah, I could see that, where that would cause resentment in the family, conflict between siblings. Ramon also was asking, are you involved at all with the Titanic Honor and Glory projects? He was wondering if they...
Not at all.
Okay.
No, not at all. Is Raymond the Raymond I know? Raymond Lepien?
It's Ramon Robinson?
No. Oh, it's another Raymond.
Where did he get? He said, do you think Joseph Laroche will one day be represented in a film?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Do you think one day Joseph Laroche will be represented in a film? I think I'm too far from the computer.
I was really disappointed by the James Cameron movie, because my article was published in '95. So maybe somebody from the THS who was working on the movie could have told him, if you are not having a black actor, or if you are not focusing on the Laroche, maybe you could just have a black actor in the background, and people would say, oh, I saw a black man. Is it a mistake? And so we could explain, no, there was a black passenger, but Cameron did not use this detail, and so I was a bit disappointed about that.
Yes, because he could have brought him to life, because I think a lot of people don't.
Yeah, even if he was not focusing on Joseph, maybe just a hint at his presence on the Titanic.
Yeah, because I think earlier on, there was a conversation going on where someone had said, he's not black, he's African-American. How do we decide on the titles?
Absolutely, yeah. I usually I'm not talking about a black man, because he was from Haiti. Haiti is not a black country.
That's what Ramon had said.
Maybe he had slaves as his ancestors, because Haiti had a special history also. So maybe he was having slaves as his ancestors. Himself, he was called Carteron. Carteron means he only had 25% black blood, African blood. So the rest was white blood, because the masters were having children with the slaves, and the children did not have black blood. They had mingled blood, mixed blood. I don't know the word in English. Mingled works.
Sure.
Yeah, it does make sense. Mingled bloods.
Yeah, mixed. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. That would be a whole nother research project, wouldn't it, to go back in time?
If Mr. B had decided to search on this aspect, it could be great, but he did not.
Right. Wow. So is this your only publication then that you did on the family? Was in the Commutator in 1995?
Yeah, I was asked to give interviews later on by Ebony, the
I
magazine.
did. Yeah,
what else? Somebody wanted to write, and I think they did. They produced some kind of operatic show or opera or singing show. I don't know exactly what, in Chicago, I think.
Oh,
in
okay.
96, 97, 96 maybe. And the article was saying that Juliette was embodied by a black actress when she was not black. And so Louise was crazy about this. She told me, my mother was not black, only Papa was. And in the article, they are writing that she was wearing a red dress. My mother could not stand red.
Oh, she's like, don't give out the wrong information. Check your sources. Wow. That's neat. And then you said there's family still around then now? That's obviously from through the son.
Joseph had children. The girls didn't, of course, but Joseph had 3 children, 1 girl, 2 boys. The girl has a daughter, I think. Yeah, daughter. And the boys had 2 or 3 boys each. Oh, okay. So one is a sports teacher, one is doing some research in storms, if I understand it well.
Wow,
he's flying in the storms, studying the flashes. If I understand what I was told, I didn't know it was a job. So, yeah, they have 1 scientist, one is running a pharmacy, one is a doctor. So yeah, there are still lots of Laroches.
And they all still live in France there?
Yeah, all of them scattered all over the country, but nobody is living in Villejuif now. Villejuif only has the grave.
Yeah, everyone needs to stay. Wow. Have you met any of them, or you kind of stopped with the girls?
When Louise passed away, I was invited by the family as a family member, because I really was. We were close friends, and when I was the first person who was aware that Louise passed away, and it's still difficult for me to talk about it. And they called me and they said, it's finished, Louise is dead. And I was calling Ed Kamuda immediately after that. I was calling him. I don't know what time it was in the States, but I was calling him. I was crying. And yeah, Louise died at the start of January 98, when the Cameron movie was opening in France, and there were posters everywhere, and every radio was talking about the movie. Every reporter on TV was talking about the movie, and all the newspapers were full of information about the movie. And Louise had a cancer, and she was sent to a hospital in Villejuif. And one day the nurse was calling us, Claudine, the sister-in-law, and myself, and the nurse was saying, something is going wrong with Louise. She's becoming crazy. Maybe it's the cancer, but she's becoming crazy. And we did not understand, because she was fine the day before. So we said, what's going wrong with her now? And the nurse was so sad, and she said, she's pretending she is a Titanic survivor. And so Claudine and I were bursting because we said, no, it's true. She was on the Titanic. She's the last lady, the last French lady who survived the Titanic. So the nurse really believed she was losing her marbles because
they'd never heard the story. Or...
No, and Titanic was everywhere in the media. So she thought maybe she heard the name, and now she's pretending she was on the Titanic. And so we told her, no, Louise really is Titanic survivor. And she became the pet of the oncology service at the hospital. And she died a few days after that.
Wow.
She died quietly.
Quickly and like
quickly.
cancer.
She went to sleep and she never woke up.
Oh, so it sounds peaceful.
Yeah, the perfect death.
And now the family's all together again. If you believe in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Ramon had said that the truth about Joseph Laroche conflicts greatly with the narratives we've institutionalized about that time period and the Titanic in particular.
He's asking what? Sorry, I didn't get everything.
He said the truth about Joseph Laroche conflicts greatly with the narratives we've institutionalized about that time period and the Titanic in particular.
I hope I was filling a gap when I published my article. I hope I was. I was told that the Afro-Americans called the Titanic, they called it white man's folly. Because it was concerning only white people. And when they discovered through Ebony and through my article, when they discovered there was a black man on board, Joseph Laroche became some kind of representative, or I don't know if the word makes sense in English. In French, it does. Some kind of hero, if I can say. An emblem, that's emblem? It. Really, thank you. That's it, an emblem. I couldn't find the word.
That was Ramon. He's great.
Thank you for helping.
He's a very great participant here.
Yeah. English is my second language, and sometimes I'm just losing my words, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think your English is great. Gosh, would you ever think about writing your own book? I know you might feel it's repetitive, but I personally feel with your personal experiences, I think, have you ever considered that, or are you happy?
No, never, but maybe one day when I'm old, when I have time, because I'm working on many projects right now.
Oh, what other kinds of things are you doing?
Oh, completely different projects. I'm writing a book of short stories. Ooh. And I'm writing a book on French singers, 2 French singers. I'm comparing the text of the 2 singers. So it's completely different. One of them wrote a song called Titanic, but, I'm working on completely different fields now. I was a little bit upset by my experience with being stolen my research. Yeah. And so I decided to stop the Titanic world. Even today, when I see people asking me for friendship requests on Facebook just because of the Titanic, I'm not accepting, because I'm not offering anything interesting on the Titanic now. Maybe I was decades ago, but not now. Now, my Facebook is only for family and close friends. And so if people want to contact me only for this reason, now it's not the best way. Yeah, well, I have nothing to offer, unfortunately.
Well, I want to hear about your other books and what you're doing, because I just think you're a wonderful person, and my heart broke for you, and I think you are just a classy person to just step back, and because sometimes when you fight against injustice, it only causes more hardship, and I think it takes a big person to let it go. And but I wanted to honor you, because I immediately thought of you when I thought of, when I think of the LaRoche family. I'm always just remembering your personal touches that you used to put on the story, and your bringing this family to life.
I really was lucky to meet Louise. I really was lucky. She really gave me strength when I was writing my book and when I was researching. She really was a fantastic help. And if I may show you something, I'm not showing everyone. When Louise passed away, after the ceremony at the church and after the cemetery, we went back to the house, and her family told me, "You've been great to Louise for years, and we'd like to thank you with a special gift." And I just didn't know what they meant by special gift, and they offered me a very special gift. Jill, you know, I'm not a Christian, I'm not a believer, I'm French. you know, I'm not close to any church or any religious belief, but I really was moved to tears. They offered me this little cross. Louise was wearing this when she survived the Titanic. She had it on her neck, around her neck, when she survived the Titanic.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's a wonderful gift that you treasure. I'm sure. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know we had a discussion. This is a little personal I'm throwing in here, when my friend's son was sick with brain cancer, and I was asking for prayers. And I remember your wonderful idea, you know, Jill, prayer is nice, but what about the boy? And you know, you inspired me to start that campaign for him, and postcards for Braden, and you know, we decorated his room, and you know, I that's always a special thing that I'll remember about you, that you know, your kind heart thought of, you know, something that could directly, and you know, give him life at the end.
I remember the story. Yeah,
you're just a wonderful person, and I really appreciate you joining us today. And
thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much. And if you wish, if some of you are following Genia's website or page on Facebook, I mean, I'm posting stuff regularly.
Okay, great. And then people can, Terry has a question, but I wanted to say that I know that you can go on to the Titanic Historical Society website and buy past commutators. And you said it was in one of the 1995 issues. But
I was sorry from the teachers.
Your article in the Commutator, it was in one of the 1995 issues?
95, yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that, and then I can present that to the book club too, because I believe people can go and buy past old issues through the website.
Mm. You will have lots of details I didn't speak about here. Yeah, about the balloon Louise was holding before boarding the train in Paris, and the balloon was flying, and she was crying, and the man who was driving them to the station ran to the balloon stand, and he bought another one for Louise because the little girl was crying. She lost her red balloon. So, Mr. Renard, we even know the name of the man. So yeah, it will be full of details. I cannot give here too many details, too many things. Yeah.
Oh, well, you were so generous. And Terry said she had a question for you.
Yeah, I couldn't find the chat. I finally found it. Because I'm listening on my cell phone. My question is, do you plan? First of all, thank you so much for taking your time out to talk with us. So appreciative.
It's been a real pleasure being here with you all.
I don't mean to sound ignorant, but I happened to be fooling around online, and I came across Mr. Laroche's story by accident. I mean, I had no idea that there even was a person of color on the Titanic. I mean, it's what they don't teach you. But anyway, I want to know, do you plan to sue the author?
No, I read the question. No, I'm not planning anything of the kind, because I'm only a little French man, and I cannot imagine myself fighting against an American publisher. The book has been published in French first. I was aware of the book because there was some video on YouTube. I left a message to the author, and he was threatening me. Uh, and I was contacting the American publisher who can speak fluent French. I thought I had a French lady on the phone when I was talking to her. And she said, okay, we are stopping the production of the book. We will check everything. But they didn't stop the production of the book, and the book was published anyway, and she never called me back. So I'm not strong enough to sue any publisher, because it means being in the States, having a lawyer, having money, fighting, and France fighting the United States has never been a good deal.
Well, I do have a quick follow-up question. How do you feel about the fact that, you know, hasn't been known that there were people of color on the Titanic? Because I was also shocked. There's another documentary coming out called The Six, about the 6 Chinese who survived the Titanic. Like, how do you feel that you know, we have to stumble upon the part that that there were people of color on the Titanic? You understand what I'm trying to add?
For sure, there was only one black man. You know what I mean? Black man, man of color. There was only him, despite what one writer says, pretending there were plenty. It's wrong, of course. It's complete craziness. I was really glad discovering it, and I was really glad sharing the information with the rest of the world, because if I had not met Louise, the story would still be in some suitcase somewhere. So I really was glad I met her, and she shared this information with me, and the pictures and documents. I know a lot of things about Joseph, lots really. He had a fulfilled life. He really was a great man. He was learning English. He was playing the piano.
Wow.
He was friends with the Bishop of Haiti. He was the nephew of the president of the Haitian Republic. An incredible life. I'd like to write something about his life. I don't know about other nationalities or other ethnicities on board the ship. I know there were Chinese people, one Japanese man, even one Egyptian man, I think. One man was coming from Egypt.
There are a lot of Lebanese as well, I think.
Yeah, people from Lebanon. Of course, yeah, from Lebanon. Plenty of people. And I know about that, but the fact that Joseph was the only colored man, by colored I mean,
I know what you mean.
You understand what I mean. I really was happy to bring that to light, because in the letter she wrote on the Titanic, Juliette says, at the moment, Joseph is walking on the deck with the girls. So it means lots of people saw him, lots of people. Right. And nobody ever witnessed in 100 years, not one survivor ever witnessed seeing a black man on the ship. Not a single one.
Wow.
So it means people saw him, but I don't know if they preferred silencing the information or if they just didn't understand how important it was. I don't know. So to me, it really was important.
Yes. Ramon asked if Joseph, he said Joseph learned that his uncle was the president of Haiti. Had you heard that?
Yeah. He was his nephew. Yeah. And the uncle died in the bombing of the palace in June 1912.
Oh, wow, that's
somebody put some explosive inside the presidential palace, and he died in June 1912.
Oh, wow.
What a family.
Wow. Did you do a lot of research into his life, Joseph, or mostly his wife and the girls and the family aftermath?
it was easy to inquire into the girls because one was still alive and we were close friends. So she really was willing to share any information with me, what kind of job she did, how she went through 2 world wars, how she fell into a hole caused by a bomb when she was going to Paris. She was telling me lots of details about her life. About the father, it was more difficult because she didn't know anything. She was only 2 years old when she survived the sinking, so she never really met her father. She knew what the mother was telling her, and the mother was not telling so much. I don't think Louise refused to share information with me. She was not the kind. She was really willing to share information. She really was kind and proud because somebody was at last inquiring into her family, at last. So she really was willing to share information. So I don't think she was hiding anything from me. All she told me was what she knew.
I would have loved to sit next to her and Milvina and listen to the two of them talk, because when Milvina was kind of, brought into the light, she was also like, what, I'm so no one special, I'm sure they had a lot of laughs together about that,
Yeah, the wheelchair at the airport is still ringing in my head. It's such a funny story.
Yes, I love it.
She hated I don't know what you call that in the States, in the United States. We call it rolling carpet at the airport.
Like the escalator that goes up, or the one that?
Yeah, the escalator. It's not escalator with steps, but the flat one,
Oh, like what is that called, Terry? That goes through, like they have in airports.
So she was scared. She was scared of that, and she told me, I've been to plenty of airports in the world, all over the world, but I only found that in France. Oh. And she really was so upset when somebody was coming with a wheelchair. She was so upset. She was
a wheelchair? Seriously? Wow.
She thought, I'm going to be walking. Well, I think, when you get older, you want to keep doing things for yourself. You don't want...
Oh, yeah.
Because I think they feel like once they're in the wheelchair, they're never going to walk again,
I survived the Titanic. I survived the Titanic. I can survive this airport.
That's awesome.
I always thought if you could survive the Titanic, you could survive anything.
Yeah, I guess so. So that's it. That was the story.
Really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate you being here with us. And Julie made a good point here. It says people, I believe they tended to describe anyone with darker skin as Italian, because I remember when we were looking too, only one black man on Titanic. I remember us combing through pictures, but there were some very dark skinned,
Italian at the time, I think, was some kind of an insult for English folks. Oh. They were calling the French people Italians because we are hot-blooded and we have the same kind of complexion. Of course, we
my mother
in France and in Italy, we don't have the same complexion as in England, of course. So they were calling the two people Italians, meaning bad people.
Yeah, it's called a bad name. Wow, well, I really appreciate you coming. I know you're trying to put Titanic to the side and do some other things. So that makes us really extra honored that you're here to spend time with us today and talk about LaRoche.
I can never stop. Just one last detail. We have a letter by Kate Buss, survivor, who was describing 2 little French girls looking like Japanese dolls. So Kate Buss was not considering they had a special complexion. She thought they were coming from Japan.
Oh, wow.
In the letter, she's mentioning the 2 LaRoche girls. She talks about 2 French girls looking like Japanese dolls.
Wow. Wow, because they were beautiful, beautiful skin. And
yeah. And when you see the pictures, of course, you could say they were coming from some special country. They were not looking like a common girl or whatever.
Right, beautiful girls, and her mom wanted to keep them all protected from life. And
so,
here, Ralph. Oh, go ahead.
Sonia's
Sorry.
asking, can you? But I cannot read the question.
Oh, Ralph said the Titanic website references your Titanic commutator article in volume 19, number 2, second quarter, August to October 1995, page 40 to 48. So
Whoa.
I will put that in the book club too, because I'm sure people would want to read that, you know, because that's your...
How many words?
He didn't include that. Thank you, Ralph. That was very informative. Oh, I think Ralph's the only other person that has his camera on. I should put him up here. There's Ralph. Thank you, Ralph. I should unmute you here.
It's been a real pleasure.
I think everyone else has their cameras turned off, so I can't see who's all here. Thank you so much. We really, this was very special. Did you want to say anything, Ralph? Or?
No. I just looked up. Joseph Laroche on the. On Wikipedia. So it's on Wikipedia. It was on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And in Wikipedia, there's an article about him, and it's got a number of references. And one of the references is that article. So,
really?
Yeah. So it's Wikipedia. It's not Titanic. It's Wikipedia.
Oh, that's the other thing. Olivier said that people put all his information on Wikipedia without asking.
Yes,
so this is something that we can do to pay back Olivier for his time here. Is we can always credit our sources. Sonia's
of course, yeah.
You know, that is something that's really
possible.
And you know, I think you're a good example of how hurtful that is when someone stole something from you, and
it hurts.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, and I'm very sorry about that, and I'm so glad that you could come and tell us about, you know, let us know the real historian of the LaRoche family. Here's Sonia. Sonia put together our display today of the photos for Olivier. And Terry, they're both book club admin members.
Ralph, thank you, Jill, also for having him.
You're
welcome. We appreciate it.
And thank you so much for Olivier. Thank you. We really appreciate it. And we promise not to share any of your photos or anything without your
I'm sorry, my book.
We don't plan. I know you said, please don't, you know, share my photos without my permission, but we hadn't planned on sharing them. We just wanted to use them in your.
And if you need a good book on the French passengers, buy mine.
Oh, is that one in English? Because
it's in French and out of print, hard to find.
Oh, well, we'll have to look for it. I'll put that up in the book club too, because I have seen that one.
It was published in 2011, so a long time ago. Yeah.
Putting this on my to-do list.
10 years ago. I can't believe it. 10 years.
Time is flying.
So if you ever come across one copy, buy it. It's rare.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my eye out because I would love. Well, that will force me to practice my French that you so kindly tried to teach me over the years.
I remember we started.
Yeah, you would give me sentences and what they meant, and I try to remember. That's something I could be doing during this shutdown. Work on my French. Thank you.
Sorry? Yeah. Oh, during shutdown. Yeah.
Yes. Language.
I'm crossing my fingers. Everyone is fine all over the world.
Thank you so much. And take care of yourself. And we look forward to hearing about your other books if you think of letting us know. And I think we'd like to hear about that song too, that Titanic song.
Yeah, maybe I can find more, maybe.
Okay. Thank you. And I hope everyone has
Thank you so much.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Au revoir tout le monde.
Auf Wiedersehen. Is that French?
No, that's German.
Oh, that's German. What's goodbye in French?
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Okay.
Well, goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Merci beaucoup à vous.
Thank you. Oh, Ralph knew a little. And thank you for coming, everyone else that's in here that came.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Jill.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. How do you leave meeting?
I think, and